This is the oil I extracted from birch bark. I use it mostly for waterproofing my tools so they don't get rusty. You can also seal and waterproof wood with it. It can be used to make glue, and it also acts as a mild bug repellent. Plus it's flammable, so you can make oil lamps with it or fire starters. It needs to be on some kind of wicking material, or else it won't burn very well. I'm using Q-tips here just to show how flammable it is. But to make a wick for a candle or a lamp, you could use natural cordage made from dead plants. So I'm going to make another batch of birch oil and show you how I do it. I have a big metal cookie tin with a lid and an empty soup can. Poke a small hole or two in the lid of the big can, and I'll need another hole at the bottom. But first I'm going to take the lid off and then push down on the bottom so it makes kind of a funnel shape. This will funnel the oil at the bottom of the can towards the center where the hole is going to be. So that should be about good there. You can see it's kind of bowl shaped. Then you want to poke a hole in the bottom, making sure you do it from the inside out. Just a small hole, about the size of a .22 round. Now I'm going to strip all the bark from this fallen birch log, and I'll throw it all in the can. This bark is loaded with oil, which is why it's not rotten like the log is, and is also why this stuff makes a great natural fire starter. So I've got that all filled up. Now I'll put the lid back on. Then I'm going to dig a hole and bury my soup can in the ground, right under where my fire is going to be. The soup can will be what collects the oil. Once that's dug, I'll put it in there at the bottom, then pack it in with dirt. So that's pretty packed in there. Now I'll set the bigger can on top with the hole directly above the empty soup can. Then I'll get a fire started. So all I'm going to do now is just build a fire all around the cookie tin. That'll heat up the birch bark inside and make it release the oils. You want to keep the fire kind of low. You want to cook the oil out of the bark, but if the oil gets too hot, it'll get a little too thick, kind of like a tar. After all the moisture is cooked out of the bark, it'll start to release gas and you can see it coming from the hole. It's flammable, so it'll ignite as it escapes. I'm just letting this cook low and slow for a couple hours, adding firewood as needed. The bigger the can and the more bark you use, the longer it'll take. So I let this cook for a little over 2 hours. I could probably let it go for longer, but we're going to check it and see what we got. I'm just going to scrape all the wood and the coals away from the can. Then I'm going to take it out very slowly with these sticks, trying not to spill any coals or dirt into the soup can. Then I'll pull the soup can out of the ground and see what's in there. And we got a little bit of oil in there. There's also some water mixed in with it, but the oil and water will separate after it sits for a while. So I could have left it cook for a lot longer. The bark is only partially charred. So I can cook it again and make more oil.